For the first time, they had free and fair elections. We had two candidates. Like I said, Paul Kagame on RPF tickets, he got 3,544,777 votes, representing the majority of 95.05% in 2003. We also had his opponent, who was also his closest rival, was Faustin Twagiramungu. Faustin Twagiramungu polled 134,865 votes, representing 3.62%. That was in 2003.
It's yet another beautiful day that we've been blessed with, and always a good one to discuss issues that build not only our nations, the continent, but the entire globe. My name is T.R. Bright, and back on UKWELI Times. You can call us UKWELI Media. That is, of course, on our social media handles. Down here on YouTube, where we give you the latest in all aspects. That's politics, sports, showbiz, and we discuss to build. But for now, we are here to discuss the post-election time. Now, for some of us that are getting to see us for the first time, we should remember that this has never happened, I think, since 1953, when half of the world was in an election period. This year alone, we have had more than 156 countries go to the polls, or are yet to go to the polls, and inclusive of them is Rwanda. Yes, I tell you, the land of 1,000 hills, that's Rwanda, where we went to the polls last month. And of course, the presidential and parliamentary elections this time around were put together, which was also another historical moment. Up to 9 million voters were registered world over, because Rwanda is not limited to only the borders of 1,000 hills, but also even the diaspora community are gotten to discuss or get to engage in the political history of their nation. Once again, I have an amazing gentleman, Innocent. Like we always discuss issues that concern the nation and the region at large. Welcome, Innocent.
Thank you so much, T. Bright.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me to analyze the post-period election in Rwanda.
How have you been?
I've been very fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
You look like you're still in the moods of singing Ojera.
Ongera, Ongera, yeah. We did a lot of singing of that song and many more of them that were composed by our artists.
Interesting.
And which were good when you go to the message that those songs were carrying. It's about the message of appreciating, thanking His Excellency and the Patriotic Front for the positive development that they have brought to Rwanda. Yes.
Now, to most of the people who are maybe watching us for the first time, most of them have had Rwanda as a nation that never has elections. Or most of them have already said it is a dictatorship. Basing from what we have just come from, or what we witnessed in the previous campaign season, how would you respond to such?
Thank you so much, T. Bright. Yes, people have been saying Rwanda is a dictatorship. There are no elections in Rwanda. But to our first-time viewers, for those from America, United States, from Commonwealth countries, those are the countries that speak English. I would want to give them maybe overview of the elections, how they have been taking place in Rwanda.
Yes.
Maybe we start by introducing that as we proceed. In the first place, Rwanda had its first elections earlier on, before I think the first elections were held in 1960 something.
That's post-independence.
Post-independence period.
Yes.
But those elections we cannot really consider them, because for me I believe those were not democratic elections. Actually, democratic elections came post-genocide period. So those post-genocide period, in 1994 in July, that's when the country was liberated. That was the rebirth of Rwanda, when the Rwanda Patriotic Front, RPF, took over from MRND. MRND was a government which was actually governing on the divisionalism, bringing divisions in Rwandans, segregations. People had no fair education. People had no fair health facilities. People had no fair job recruitment. All those issues. That's why we said Rwanda was reborn, because it was now moving out of that period of injustice to the period of justice. So from July 1994 to the year 2000, Rwanda was in the hands of Pastor Bizimungu. He was the president by then. After the liberation war, the Pastor Bizimungu became the president. In 2000, in the year 2000, Pastor Bizimungu resigned. And by the law, according to what the law, stipulates, the law stipulates that once a sitting Republican president dies or resigns, that means the parliament can sit and choose a new candidate. So during that period, the parliament chose or elected the current president, Paul Kagame, to take over from 2000, which he had a shortest period, a shortest term from 2000 to 2003. That would call it a transition, because they were still now trying to organize for general elections. So initially, the first general elections in Rwanda took place in 2003. Those were the first ever free and fair elections in the history of Rwanda. There, because those were democratic elections, we had two candidates. We had Faustin Twagiramungu, who was on the MDR ticket, and we also had President Paul Kagame, who was on the ticket of RPF.
So if I should cut you short, that's to say Rwanda from the Rwanda that is reborn after the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi is the Rwanda that embraces multi-party system there and then. So
basing on your question, actually the multi-party system almost started in 1990, but President Habyarimana introduced multi-party system because of the pressure that he was receiving from the Rwandans who were tired of his dictatorship. So he tried to accept multi-party system, but it was a deliberate move just to make sure that he silences his opponents who were pressurizing him to accept those multi-party system.
And I think for some of the viewers that are getting to viewers for the first time, a little bit of what the amazing gentleman has just said. Back then, it wasn't just a multi-party system. It was a system that was based on either religion or ethnicity. So for you to belong to a certain party, you had to belong to a certain religion or a certain ethnicity.
Exactly, yes. Exactly, right. Actually, what you are saying about ethnicity, it was Emerenide. Emerenide was purely a Hutu political party. Then we had also MDR. MDR was also pure a political party. Sometimes it used even to be called MDR Parimehutu. Oh, wow. You can understand what it means, ethnicity with a political party. So after the rebirth of Rwanda, with the coming of RPF, we witnessed a lot of transformation in terms of democracy. This is why in the 2003, the country went to the polls. For the first time, they had free and fair elections. We had two candidates. Like I said, Paul Kagame on RPF tickets, he got 3,544,777 votes, representing the majority of 95.05% in 2003. We also had his opponent, who was also his closest rival, was Faustin Twagiramungu. Faustin Twagiramungu poured 134,865 votes, representing 3.62%. That was in 2003.
So that's to say that actually from the first election that we ever had after the rebirth of Rwanda, President Paul Kagame has never gone beyond 90%.
Exactly.
So this is to say that this is not news. it should not be news to the people who are hearing a 99 point something percent in an election of a president.
Yes.
Interesting.
So as we continue to give our first listeners the political background or the electoral background in Rwanda, we heard Rwanda held its second elections in 2010. Again, in 2010, Paul Kagame was on the ticket of RPF. He scored 4,638, 560 votes.
That's in million.
That's in millions. Representing 93.08%. And he had his rival was called Jadamasen, Haukuirjayo, who got 256,448, representing 5.5%. Again, you see the margin. The margin for Paul Kagame of RPF was also over 90%, because in 2003 he had 95.3%. In 2010 he had 93.8%. There was a decrease in percentage by 2. When you see the decrease, where it came from, for State Twagiramungu got 3.6. Jadamasen got 5.5, meaning most likely the 2% for State the 2% that Jadamasen got came from Paul Kagame's results. Because
so that's to say that number one, the population had started to increase.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because we see a number of voters that has increased.
Yes.
But also maybe we see. Do we see an improved opponent than the previous time?
Exactly. That's what it means automatically, because here it shows you Jadamasen got 5.5%, while Twagiramungu got 3.62%. So you see, he had something better than him. He was higher than him. So as the evolution were moving, things changed, and Haukuirjayo got higher than for State Twagiramungu. Then we had the third election, the third fair and free democratic elections in 2017. Again, we had this time around we had 3 candidates: President Paul Kagame of RPF, we had Philippe Maimana, an independent candidate, and Frank Habineza.
Oh, this means
same group that
this was a rematch.
It was a rematch, actually. Yes. So in that election, President Paul Kagame scored 6,675,472.
Interesting.
Representing 98.75%. While Maimana Philippe got 49,000 with 0.3%. So again here, you're going to see President Paul Kagame coming to 98%. If you have observed for the 2 consecutive elections, in 2003, 2010, he was in the range of 90%. So we came to this year now. This year we had again...
So before we go to this year, number one, I would want to ask, we rise from one opponent to now 2 opponents. Does this mean that Rwanda is starting to grow, Rwandans start to grow a confidence in the political system that they can actually run against a sitting president? Because you see, in 2003, you said that it was one opponent, Faustin Twagiramungu, isn't it?
Yes.
In 2010, we see another candidate who is different from Faustin Twagiramungu.
Yes.
In 2017, we see 2 opponents,
yes,
one independent and one in a political party.
Yes.
Does this mean that actually it reached a time when Rwandans felt it was indeed fair to run against a sitting president, and they had a fair chance to even become the next president?
So your question actually answers your other question that you asked about Rwanda being a dictatorship. If its country is a dictatorship, it cannot allow other candidates to contest elections, more especially now to be contesting and trying to unseat a sitting president like Paul Kagame. So if Rwanda was a dictatorship, Frank Habineza, Philippe Maimana were not going to be allowed to contest the elections.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. So we're on the 4th elections now this year. we are explaining all this to make sure that to our first listeners, you understand and do know that Rwanda has been a democratic country holding fair and free elections. So what it means is that in 2024, Rwandans went to the polls, and President Kagame also emerged the winner with 99.18%, with Maimana Philippe getting the independent candidate getting 0.3%, as well as Frank Habineza getting 0.53%. What this means is this: Paul Kagame got 99.18% on the RPF ticket. But remember that RPF is not campaigning alone. You know, it had some other political parties that decided not to fill in candidates to stand on their tickets, but instead opted to come and work with RPF, to come and support the candidate of RPF. So mathematically, when you go to this 99.18%, we had the PR working with RPF. PR, Parti Liberal, is a big political party. Okay, that is where even the Speaker of the National Assembly is coming from, the past one. We had PSD. PSD is a big political party.
That's Dr. Vincent Biruta.
Dr. Vincent Biruta, the current Minister of Internal Security.
Yeah.
We had also PDI, where I think Musa Fazil is coming from. That is also a big political party. So when you see, I've just mentioned few of them. When you see these three political parties merging with another big political party, RPF, automatically you cannot beat them. Mathematically you cannot beat them, because the four of them are big political parties. In fact, PSD is bigger than the Green Party. PER is bigger than the Green Party. PDI is bigger than the Green Party. Now we cannot even compare those big political parties to an independent candidate. So logically, it was not easy for a person like Maimana Philippe to win elections, these presidential elections. Basically, it was not easy for Frank Habineza to win the chairman for RPF, Paul Kagame elections, because of the power, the coalition that he was in.
Interesting.
Yes. So that was the brief history about the democratic elections in Rwanda. Thank you.
So, for those that are joining us midway, I would like to thank you once again for joining us on this discussion in where we discuss the political climate that we've had in the land 250, that is the nation of Rwanda. Over 9.3 million voters were registered. That's to say the National Electoral Commission registered over 9.3. We had a couple of candidates who ran on different positions. That's for the Member of Parliament and the President. For the President, there were three. That was the RPF chairman, and who is the incumbent president, Paul Kagame. And then we had Frank Habineza, Dr. Frank Habineza of the Democratic Green Party. Then we had Philippe Mpayimana. These were in a rematch for the second time. Ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, let's take a short commercial break. When we return, we discuss what does this election mean to the next 7 years of Rwanda and Rwanda's future, but also we are yet to see what does it mean to have a parliament that has 63% of their population being women. Welcome back yet to another segment of On the Spot. That's on UKWELI Times. For those that are joining us for the first time, or whoever has shared the link to you, it's for just subscribe, like, notification bell, and you can always be part of these conversations where we build the African continent, the nation of Rwanda, but particularly the East African region, and contribute to the whole entire globe. I'm still with Innocent here, and we're discussing the post-election period of Rwanda. Well, 63% of the women are going to parliament, but that's not yet an issue to discuss right now. I would like to ask Innocent, what does it mean to have a general election in Rwanda? What has President Kagame given the Rwandans that they should have confidence to reach him at 99.18%?
Thank you so much, T. Bright. Having a general election in Rwanda, it is general elections. Having elections in any other country, it's a process of democracy. Democracy, it means giving the opportunity to the citizens of that particular country to exercise their right to choose the leaders of their choice. So, like Rwanda, like any other country in the world, this year in 2024 had general elections. I think to some of the people may not understand what means general elections. You know, general elections is different from presidential elections or from parliamentary elections. There's a difference. The difference is that when we are saying we have parliamentary elections, like it used to be in Rwanda, they used to choose these members of parliament in a particular year. Then they choose the president in another particular year. Those were not general elections.
Interesting.
So, parliamentary elections, it is when they are just choosing candidate to go, people are choosing a candidate to go and represent them in parliament. Those are the members of parliament. Presidential election, it is when the citizens of the Rwandans or the citizen of a particular country are choosing a person who later becomes the president to go and represent them as the president. When we say general elections, it is when these elections are held on the same day. Presidential elections and parliamentary elections are held together. They become general elections because they are two different elections being conducted parallel at the same time. So in Rwanda, for the first time in history, we had the general elections because we had parliamentary and presidential election at the same day. Choosing the president
for the first time.
For the first time.
This is why I think this is why it is a historic election.
Exactly,
in Rwanda.
It is historic to Rwandans. It was new to them. They didn't understand that. They didn't know we can choose a president and a member of parliament on the same day. So again, in the history of Rwanda, it's the first time that NEC, that's the National Electoral Commission, the body in charge of organizing, conducting elections, registered the highest number of voters. That was 9.5 million voters. Those are Rwandans, and the majority of them were youths. Some of those youths were voting for the first time in their life.
45% were voting for them.
Yes, for the first time. And then, apart from that, you can see these youths being given the opportunity to exercise their civil right of voting. It's also something very important in the process of democracy in Rwanda. To Rwandans, it means a lot. To Rwandans, it will come to your answer. What has Paul Kagame given to them for him to have 99%? Just even giving the opportunity to the young people to vote for the first time in their history, to participate in general elections, to exercise their right. It's something that motivates and makes people feel that no, we have democracy in our country. So if someone has given us democracy, why can't we vote for him? That's one factor why they gave him 99%. There are other lot of factors.
That is very interesting, Innocent, because I've covered elections in more than around 9 countries here on the African continent. And I have never seen people excited, particularly young people, excited to go to the polls. And those ones who are voting for the first time. As you continue to elaborate on this point, would you please help people who are watching us understand that it wasn't as though it is, because you continue to say this was historic, this was historic. Does this mean that the young people in the past were actually always sidelined to participate in general elections or in the democratic processes of this nation?
I wouldn't say the young people were not given time, were not given chances to participate in elections. They were always given time to participate in elections. But now there's, this world we are living in. Every day there's the evaluation of the world. We have technology coming in every day. They are watching campaigns on YouTube. If we are in Kigali and we are watching people in Rusizi or Rubavu excited and dancing, welcoming the RPF chairman, that motivates the Rwandan people or the youths who are here in Kigali to also go and celebrate or welcome him in the same manner. So that morale, that dancing, that charts that were being given during the campaigns, I think it was actually a factor that drove the youths to go and vote. Yes.
Would you say then that the Rwandan society, the post-genocide society and the pre-genocide society are entirely different in terms of understanding the importance of participation in a general election in Rwanda as contributors of this nation?
Yes, they are totally different. They are totally different because the pre-genocide period was a period which Rwandans witnessed a lot of injustice. Was a period where a lot of killings, a lot of arrestings were being conducted, basically basing on the ethnicity.
Interesting.
Because we had politics of divisionalism. We had the leadership where you could not go to school because you don't come from a certain part of the country. You don't come from northern or from western where President Habyarimana and his Akazu, the inner circle are coming from. Then you're not given the opportunity to go to school. You were not coming from that area, then you're not given the opportunity to get a good job.
That's interesting.
Yes. So, and then most of the people were killed, most of the people were arrested, basically basing on the ethnicity. They were Tutsis, they are accused of being spies, what they called Ibyitso of RPF and RPA who were on the battlefield. So, all those injustices also must have being one of the factors why Rwandans didn't feel themselves, why they didn't openly say we can go for elections. They cannot go for election because the regime, the government that was there, did not allow them to have a free and fair elections.
They were intimidated.
They were intimidated, in other words.
Yes.
Yes.
So as we conclude, what is the post-Rwandan election period like? How would you describe it? In one word, I would describe it as peaceful, because post-period election is a period after the elections. That's why in a lot of countries you experience a lot of chaos. We have seen chaos in Kenya before in 2003. The election between Uhuru Kenyatta, when he was running with the current president,
yes,
along with
Ruto, along with
Raila Odinga of Orange Democratic.
No. Instead, it must have been Kibaki.
Okay, Kibaki running against Raila Odinga still of the Orange Democratic movement.
He was running against Kenyatta, and there was chaos in Kenya. Kenyans died.
Interesting.
You remember Uhuru was even taken to international ICC. Yes. So that is an example of what happens after during the post-election period when it comes to chaos. So in Rwanda, we have not experienced such things. That's why I said in one word, it is peaceful. Rwandans, after going to elections, and by the way, did you realize that during these elections, a lot of national unity was exhibited by Rwandans, ubumwe bw'Abanyarwanda, because the president went to, I think, all the districts of Rwanda, if not almost all the districts of Rwanda, and where he went, he was welcomed. That shows you there was no ethnicity, there was no regionalism, where people would think, no, we cannot go there because it doesn't come from this area. People went there together in unity. So that also showed that ubumwe bw'Abanyarwanda, our national unity, is at a high level. And it is not a surprise to see that people are supporting the chairman of RPF, because, and the other parties that were supporting him, because of what he has brought to Rwanda.
That raises another question that I would want to ask. when Philippe Mhaimana still went to the other regions where you would where you'd think President Paul Kagame would be dominant, or even Frank Habineza. For example, the president naturally is thought to come from the eastern region, isn't it? Until he shifts to Bugesera, which is also still in the eastern region. So you'd expect when the opposition people go there, they wouldn't be welcomed. But then we see their members in those regions also be welcoming them. Does that show that the Rwandans, is that another sign that Rwandans have grown, or they have politically matured to be able to discern, to discern ethnicity and all the other backgrounds that were always thought to be the basis for politics as compared to now?
Your question, when you said the president comes from the east, I think you must separate where he is born from and where he's residing. Those are two different things.
Exactly.
His domicile and his residence are two different things. So the president, our president, the current president, President Paul Kagame, he's born from Southern Province, from Ruhango district. So he resides probably in Gasabo. That's why he voted from Gasabo. Sometimes he resides in Bugesera, he resides at Muhazi. All those issues, those are residence, presidential residence, where he stays according to his choice or his desire. But his home area where he's born from is Ruhango. So when we talk about regional politics, like it was previously, it's supposed to be Ruhango that will say our son has come. Then when he goes to Gisenyi, they say this person from Ruhango. No. But that's not the case in Rwanda. The case was that wherever he went, he received a warm welcome. He received the majority of people welcoming him. That is an indication of national unity. That is an indication of, to say Rwandans have now realized and they know the effects, the badness of politics of divisionalism which they experienced before. Yes.
Actually, that brings me to another point, which you have just brought up, the differentiation of the domicile and the residence. In one of the campaign trails, I think in the eastern region, where he says that this is a region where people were already sent to die because of sassafras, and have chosen to build a home here, that you may know that there is no place in Rwanda where people should die. Does that come up as a place to say that he himself understood the pain of the Rwandans and now wanted to be the confidant that this pain is gone?
Exactly. I think on what you have said, it's not easy for me to add anything. Him going there, because I'll come back to the previous regime. Habyarimana regime was the worst, and it will be the worst that the Rwandans have ever had. They used to send Tutsis there. Imagine sending a human being to a place where they are sassafras so they can bite them, then they die.
Interesting.
That is part of genocide, eliminating one group of people because of how God created them, how they are born. So President Paul Kagame going to reside in the same area, that means that area was an abandoned area, was a danger zone, was a no-go area to a normal person because they were sending people they wanted to die. So because he came into power, RPF came into power, Rwandans trusted him with power. He had to put things under control. He brought justice. He brought fairness. He treated that area, those sassafras are nowhere to be seen. Now for people to believe that Rwanda is equal, Rwandans are equal, Rwandans are same, let me also go and stay in the same area. That is building confidence in the citizens, building confidence in the Rwandan people as well as to the friends of Rwandan people, as well as building trust. What he did was he built trust in us. Even those who are still fearing to say, no, Bugesera is full of sassafras, now can go there because even him is there.
They're actually building an economic zone there.
He's actually reading by example. And a good reader must read by example. Automatically, President Paul Kagame is an exemplary leader, is a good reader because he reads as a good leader.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about, as we conclude, of course, let's talk about the 63-point-something% of the women who are now going to the new term of parliament. What does that mean for the political balance of gender in Rwanda? How was it in the past compared to now? And what does this reflect Rwanda to the international community?
What it means, you know, for decades now, women had been advocating for their rights. They had been talking about equal rights, what they call equal rights. So equal rights of women, it means that we have to be 50-50. What men can do, even women can do it. And people have proved it. Though in some countries, especially more of these Islamic countries, they still don't believe that there can be equality. Where 50-50, where women can perform as well as men can do it. So Rwanda, as usual, Rwanda at the helm of democracy, Rwanda at the helm of good leadership, has also continued to prove to the world, even to the wrong ones, those who think that Rwanda is a dictatorship country, they have continued to prove to them that it's a wrong perception that people are giving. They're giving a wrong picture about Rwanda. Instead, Rwanda is a country that is built on democracy, on the principles of democracy. So bringing the number of members of parliament, female members of parliament, to 63%. Actually, they are coming from 60%. So that means there has been an increment by 3%. 3% is not a small number in democracy. That means that Rwanda has trust in women. No, these women are our mothers. They are our mothers, they are our sisters. So there was no reason of marginalizing them in society and think that they are not able to do it. We have seen it before. Previous term they had, they have seen women delivering peacefully, delivering amicably, excellently. That's why they had to go back to parliament and say, bring them back again, to continue delivering, to continue developing the nation. And then it is a plus for Rwanda to have the majority of women in parliament. That means that the advocates of advocating for 50-50 women and men, it is also being put in consideration. Thank you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Innocent, as we are parting, what would be your parting shots to the people that are watching us from the topic that we've discussed? To
the people that are watching us, watching UKWELI Times, we thank you so much for watching UKWELI Times. Believe me, trust me, Rwanda is not a dictatorship country. Rwanda is a democratic nation because we have seen practically the principles of democracy being exercised in Rwanda by previous elections. We have understood why President Paul Kagame got 99.118% because of all his excellent jobs he did. He brought stability into Rwanda, compatibility as well as connectivity. All those issues are giving him a plus to Rwandans. Rwandans are living in a safe and peaceful country whereby we don't have fighting like it used to be. There's justice. That's why some of the reasons why Rwanda had to put trust in President Paul Kagame. Thank you so much.
Interesting indeed, a conversation that can never stop right now because most of you would have questions, perhaps would have what to say about what you have understood. It should be noted that prior the coming of social media, this was always an enclosed country and most of its affairs were always known to the people, unlike to us journalists who traveled to this country to understand the gist. But today, we saw more than the campaigns put out in the world. What do you think? What do you say? What can you contribute? In the comment section is what you can go and contribute towards building a peaceful generation, but also contributing towards a peaceful nation. My name is TR Bright, and for UKWELI Times, tonight we call it bye-bye.
Okay,